All right, let's dive in. Today we're talking about how to become an investment analyst.
Ooh, a popular one.
It is, it is. And we've got some really great material from RoleCatcher to help us out.
They've got a lot of good stuff.
So much. We've got career guides, interview guides, all sorts of things. They even have this AI.
Oh, yeah, their AI is really something.
It's amazing. So listeners, this deep dive is going to help you crush that investment analyst interview.
Absolutely.
So, it's like you're a financial detective.
Mm-hmm.
You're digging deep into these global markets, and you're helping these fund managers decide where to put their money.
That's a great way to put it.
And RoleCatcher has these tools that'll, tailor your interview answers
Mm-hmm.
and give you feedback.
That's where the AI comes in.
It is. It's like a secret weapon.
Exactly. And it's all about giving you that personalized edge. So, instead of just generic advice,
Right.
it's like having a system that's seen thousands of successful investment analyst interviews.
Wow.
And it's using that to help you. Like,
Yeah.
you've got a team of mentors.
Ooh, I like that. Just whispering secrets to success in your ear.
Okay, love it. So let's unpack this. I want to get a sense of what the industry actually looks like right now.
Okay, sure.
What kind of opportunities are out there? What does the landscape look like for someone just starting out?
So think of it as, constantly evolving.
Okay.
We've got new technologies coming out all the time.
Yeah.
Regulations are changing. New markets are emerging. So there's always something new to learn and explore.
Always keeps you on your toes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the really exciting part is the job market for investment analysts projected to grow much faster than average.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. So there's a huge demand for these talented individuals who can just dive into this financial data.
Find those insights.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's a good time to be getting into the field.
It is. It is.
But, before we get too starry-eyed, the guides do mention both
Yeah.
the highs and the lows.
I
So
got some.
what should our listener realistically expect? Well, I mean, the earning potential is definitely a big draw.
Well, for sure.
You're managing large amounts of money, so your expertise is really valuable.
The big responsibility.
It is. And the work itself, intellectually stimulating.
Yeah.
You're always solving these complex puzzles,
Oh,
analyzing trends, you're making those strategic recommendations. So it's very engaging.
it sounds fun.
But, and it's a big but,
Yeah.
you have to be prepared for long hours,
Okay.
high pressure environment. This is not,
Not a 9 to 5.
nope, not at all.
Definitely not.
You need to be passionate about finance
Yeah.
and comfortable working under tight deadlines.
So passion and dedication are key here.
Very much so.
All right. So let's go back to RoleCatcher for a second. Their AI. They have this feature called the interview feature.
Yes, this is great.
And it seems like a game changer.
It really is.
Can you walk us through how it works?
So imagine this. You have a database of over 120,000 real interview questions.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's just the start. The AI can analyze your answers,
Whoa.
give you personalized feedback,
No way.
and if you use the video practice, it can even evaluate your tone.
That's so cool.
So it's like this virtual coach
yeah.
helping you polish your answers until they shine.
All right. That's incredible. It's like having a personalized cheat sheet, but in the best way possible.
Why?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think our listeners ready to tackle some questions.
Let's do it.
So let's dive in. These are common investment analyst interview questions,
Oh.
straight from RoleCatcher.
Awesome.
So they're the real deal. All right. First up, can you tell us about your experience in analyzing financial statements?
Okay. Good one.
It seems pretty straightforward, but what are they really trying to get at here?
Well, they're looking beyond just the textbook definitions. They want to see if you can take that knowledge and apply it to real world scenarios. So you can't just, list off different types of financial statements. You have to showcase how you've actually used them to come up with insights.
And make decisions.
Exactly.
So it's really about demonstrating that you can walk the walk.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not just talk the talk.
Okay. What are some key points our listeners should hit in their answer?
So think about specific projects or experiences where you actually used financial statement analysis. Maybe you helped, evaluate a company's profitability, or maybe you assessed its creditworthiness.
Oh.
Talk about the key ratios, like the profitability ratios,
Yeah.
liquidity ratios, leverage ratios,
Got it.
and explain how you interpreted those numbers.
Okay.
Because it's all about the story behind the numbers.
I like that. Okay, so let's say the interviewer wants to go a little deeper. What kind of follow-up questions should our listener be prepared for?
So they might ask you to walk them through a specific example
Right.
of a time you analyzed a company's financial statements and what recommendation did you actually make? based on your analysis.
Gotcha.
Or they might ask you to compare different valuation methods.
Ooh.
And explain like when you'd use each one.
Oh,
so they want to see if you can think critically and really connect those dots.
Makes sense. All right, next question. How do you stay up to date with market trends and news?
Okay, this is a good one.
I feel like they always ask this to see if you're truly passionate about finance, right?
Absolutely right. This question is all about gauging, like, are you committed to continuous learning?
Mm-hmm.
Are you genuinely interested in this field?
You can't fake it.
You can't. And so it's not enough to just like name drop a few publications.
Right.
You need to show that you're actively seeking out information from a lot of different sources.
Okay.
And this is key, that you're critically evaluating the information you find.
So it's not just reading it, it's thinking about it.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, so what kind of sources would impress an interviewer? What shows that you're really plugged into the financial world?
Think beyond just the obvious. You want to mention a mix of like reputable publications, industry-specific journals,
Right.
research reports from investment banks, maybe even some influential blogs or podcasts. But the key is that well-rounded approach to information.
So variety is key.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to like mention some specific trends or news stories that you've been following.
Okay.
And explain why they're relevant. That's what's going to set you apart.
So you're not just passively consuming, you're thinking about it.
Exactly.
Okay, I love that. Now, how might an interviewer dig a little deeper here? What kind of follow-up questions should our listener be ready for?
So they could ask you to elaborate on a specific trend you mentioned.
Okay.
And say, how does that impact investment decisions?
I see.
Or they could challenge you to discuss a recent economic event.
Ooh, interesting.
And how does that affect different asset classes?
Okay.
So again, it's about showing you can analyze and interpret the information.
Not just regurgitate it.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense.
Right.
All right, let's move on. How do you assess the risk of an investment opportunity?
The heart of it.
This one feels like it really gets to the core of what an investment analyst does.
It does. It does.
What do you think the interviewer is hoping to hear?
They really want to understand your thought process.
Okay.
How do you identify, quantify risks? How do you think about risk tolerance when making recommendations?
All right, so how can our listener articulate their approach to risk assessment? In a way that's comprehensive but also engaging.
So start by thinking about the different types of risks. There's market risk, credit risk, liquidity risk,
Okay.
regulatory risk.
Many risks.
There are a lot.
Oh.
But you want to explain how you analyze and maybe quantify those risks.
Okay.
Maybe you can mention some specific tools or models you've used.
Ooh, good idea.
But it's also super important to tie risk assessment back to investment objectives.
Okay.
So you need to explain how you would balance risk and return to meet the needs of, say, a client or a specific portfolio.
So it's all connected.
It is. It's a balancing act.
It is. Okay. What kind of follow-up questions might come up in this area?
They might give you like a hypothetical investment scenario.
Ooh, I like those.
And ask you to walk them through your risk assessment process.
Okay.
Or they might ask, how would you communicate those risks to, a client who maybe doesn't have a lot of financial knowledge?
So it's also about communication.
It is. You've got to be able to explain it clearly.
Got it. All right, moving on. How do you assess the value of an investment opportunity? This is where things start to get a little technical.
It does.
What's the interviewer really trying to gauge here?
They want to see, do you understand those different approaches to valuing assets?
Okay.
And when do you use each approach?
So what are some of the key valuation methods our listeners should be ready to discuss?
Definitely be prepared to talk about discounted cash flow analysis, DCF,
Sure.
comparable company analysis, precedent transaction analysis.
Okay.
Each of these methods has its strengths and weaknesses, and you need to know when to use which one.
Gotcha.
It's also really helpful to be familiar with different valuation multiples,
Okay.
like the price-to-earnings ratio, price-to-book ratio,
Right.
enterprise value to EBITDA. It's all about having a diverse toolkit
Exactly.
and knowing which tool to use in each situation.
Okay, what kind of follow-up questions could really test our listeners' understanding of these valuation methods?
They could ask you to walk them through a specific valuation that you did in the past
Okay.
and explain the steps you took, your assumptions.
Interesting.
Or they might ask you to compare those different methods,
Okay.
discuss their limitations.
So being able to apply your knowledge to real-world situations is essential.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's move on to question number 5. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult investment decision? This one feels like it's designed to assess more than just your technical skills.
You're right. This is a behavioral question. They want to understand how you make decisions under pressure,
Okay.
how you think critically and learn from your experiences.
So how can our listener craft a really compelling story? One that highlights their decision-making abilities and shows they're always learning and growing.
So choose a situation where there wasn't a clear-cut answer,
Right.
a real dilemma.
Yeah.
Walk them through your thought process,
Okay.
the factors you considered, the data you analyzed, the risks you weighed, and then explain how you actually arrived at that decision.
Yeah.
But most importantly, what did you learn, regardless of the outcome?
Oh, that's a good point. Even if it didn't work out the way you wanted.
Exactly. Because even a, so-called bad decision can be a good learning experience.
Okay, what kind of follow-up questions might dig a little deeper into the thought process?
They might ask about, what other approaches could you have taken?
Interesting.
What were the biggest challenges you faced in, gathering information or analyzing it?
I see.
Or how did you handle pushback
Okay.
or disagreements?
During the decision-making process.
Yeah.
All right, good to know. Next question. How do you manage and prioritize your workload? It seems pretty standard.
It is a common one.
But how does it apply specifically to the world of an investment analyst?
So this question is really getting at your organizational skills,
Okay.
your time management, and your ability to just, handle a lot of different things at once.
These investment analysts are busy.
They are. It's a fast-paced environment.
So organization is key.
Absolutely.
All right. How should our listener tackle this question? What are some points that'll make them shine?
So start by describing how you like to organize your tasks. Do you use project management software,
Okay.
spreadsheets, color-coded lists, whatever your system is, explain it.
Show them you have a system.
Yes. And then talk about how you actually prioritize tasks. Maybe mention a specific framework you like to use, like the Eisenhower matrix,
Oh, interesting.
which helps you separate the urgent tasks from the important ones.
That's smart.
But be sure to emphasize that you can adapt.
Yeah.
Things change all the time. Priorities shift. And you can handle that
Gracefully.
gracefully, exactly.
So it's about showing that you're organized, you can manage your time, and that you can stay calm under pressure.
Yes, that's the key takeaway.
Any follow-up questions we should be thinking about?
They might ask you to describe a time when you had to juggle competing deadlines
Okay.
or reprioritize your workload.
That happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
All right, great. Question number 7. How do you communicate your investment recommendations to your team? This feels like it's really about those communication skills.
It is, which are crucial
In any environment.
in any environment, but especially in finance.
Especially when you're dealing with people's money.
Absolutely. Because in the world of finance, you can have the most brilliant idea,
Right.
but if you can't communicate it effectively, it doesn't matter.
It's true.
So whether you're presenting to, a room full of executives or explaining a strategy to a client,
Yeah.
you have to be a good communicator.
All right, so how can our listener impress the interviewer with their communication skills? What should they focus on?
So start by emphasizing your ability to, tailor your style to your audience,
Okay.
because you wouldn't use the same language and level of detail when you're talking to a portfolio manager versus, someone who's new to finance.
Right.
So highlight your ability to use data visualizations,
Okay.
create compelling presentations,
Yeah.
present complex information clearly and concisely.
So it's about being clear and concise.
Yes. And it's also important to emphasize active listening,
Oh, good one.
because can you anticipate questions, address concerns thoughtfully?
I like it.
Can you build consensus and get everyone on board?
So it's a two-way street.
It is.
What about follow-up questions? What might they ask to really gauge those communication abilities?
They might ask you to describe a time you had to explain a complex concept to, like a non-technical audience.
Okay.
Or how you handled it when someone pushed back on your recommendation.
Interesting.
They could also ask about your experience with different communication tools, like presentation software.
Makes sense.
It's all about showing that you can communicate effectively in lots of different contexts.
All right, so being a communication chameleon is key.
Exactly.
I love it. All right, moving on to, how do you deal with uncertainty or volatility in the market? This one feels especially relevant right now.
Doesn't it? The world is a volatile place.
Things are changing so quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think they're really looking for with this question?
They want to know about your temperament.
Okay.
Can you stay calm when things get crazy? Can you adapt?
So how can our listener demonstrate that they've got the mental strength and flexibility to thrive in this kind of environment?
You have to start by acknowledging that volatility is just part of the game.
It's going to happen.
It is. It is. It's not about being scared of it.
Yeah.
It's about being prepared.
All right.
So you could explain how you stay informed
Okay.
about market trends and economic indicators.
Stay on top of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And use that info to assess potential risks.
Right.
And then you can adjust your strategy accordingly.
I like that.
Maybe you could talk about your experience using hedging strategies.
Ooh.
Diversification.
Those are good ones.
Or even scenario planning.
Minimize those losses.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's all about showing that you've got a plan.
It is. It shows you're proactive.
You're not just going to panic when things go south.
You're ready for whatever comes your way.
I like that. What kind of follow-up questions could test that ability to handle those market ups and downs?
So they might ask you to describe a time you had to make a tough decision during a volatile period.
Oh.
Or how would you advise a client who's panicking
That's a good one.
when the market's taking a dip?
Because that happens a lot.
It does. It does.
People get scared.
They do.
Okay. And last question from RoleCatcher's list. Can you describe a time when you had to convince a team member or a client of your investment recommendation? This feels like it's a test of both communication skills
It is.
and the ability to kind of build consensus.
You got it. It's about being persuasive,
Yeah.
presenting data convincingly, and handling those objections gracefully.
So you're not just telling them what to do.
No, you're bringing them along.
All right. So how should our listener approach this? How do they show they can influence others and get people on board with their ideas?
Think of a time you had, a strong conviction about an investment, but you faced resistance.
Right.
Walk them through how you addressed their concerns.
Words.
What data did you use? What was your logic? What compromises were you willing to make?
So it's about showing that you can be both assertive,
Yes.
but also collaborative.
You're willing to listen to those different perspectives.
I see.
Even if, ultimately you disagree.
That's a tough balance,
It is.
but an important one.
It is. You have to find that sweet spot.
All right. What kind of follow-up questions could dig a little deeper into those persuasion skills?
They might ask about alternative strategies you could have used to get buy-in.
Yeah.
Or what were those biggest challenges you faced in convincing people?
That makes sense.
And then what did you learn about communication and negotiation?
Because every experience is a learning opportunity.
It is. That's how you get better.
Awesome. This has been so helpful. We've really covered a lot.
We have.
From understanding what an investment analyst actually does
Yeah.
to how to master the interview.
Absolutely.
But I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier. RoleCatcher's AI feedback.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's like this secret weapon.
It is.
Your interview prep arsenal.
Absolutely. So we talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your CV, right?
Yeah.
And find those relevant questions.
Right.
But the real magic is in the feedback. It's like
Right.
having this virtual coach,
I love that analogy.
right, that can pinpoint your areas for improvement
Yeah.
and help you just fine-tune your responses.
Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through how it actually works
Yeah.
and why it's such a game changer for interview prep?
So imagine this. You have a system that's analyzed thousands of winning answers,
Wow.
and it's comparing yours to those.
Okay.
And then it gives you specific feedback on your content,
Yep.
structure.
Your
but-
delivery.
Yeah. It can tell you if you're rambling or using too much jargon,
Interesting.
and then it can help you make your answers more concise and impactful.
So it's like having a personalized editor.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. But beyond the AI, the tools and the tips, what broader career advice would you give to someone who's really serious about making it as an investment analyst?
You have to embrace continuous learning.
Okay.
The financial world is always changing.
Always.
So to stay ahead, you have to be curious, adaptable.
And a lifelong learner.
Absolutely. Always be learning.
Okay, so how can our listeners stay on top of all those trends and developments? What resources can they use to stay ahead of the game?
So I always recommend a multi-pronged approach.
Okay, what does that mean?
So subscribe to different financial publications.
Okay.
Follow industry blogs and podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Attend conferences and webinars.
So you're saying kind of diversify your sources?
Yeah. Don't limit yourself.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And engage actively with the material.
Don't just read it.
No. Challenge your assumptions.
Okay.
Look for different perspectives.
Yeah.
Debate with colleagues.
Ooh, interesting.
Connect with people on LinkedIn.
Good one.
Participate in forums and discussion groups.
The more the merrier.
The more, the merrier.
Okay, I love that. And speaking of resources,
Yes.
I have to mention RoleCatcher's Career Compass again.
It's such a great feature.
It's like a roadmap for professional growth.
It is. It's like your personal GPS for your career.
I love it.
So it helps you figure out what skills are in demand,
Right.
explore new career paths you might not have considered,
That's awesome.
and find courses and certifications that can boost your credibility.
Okay, so whether our listeners just starting out or they're looking for, a change,
Yeah.
Career Compass can help them out.
It's a fantastic tool.
All right, awesome. Before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to circle back to something super important: ethical conduct.
Right. We can't forget that.
As an investment analyst, you're dealing with other people's money.
It's a huge responsibility.
It is. So ethical conduct isn't just like a nice to have.
It's essential.
It's the foundation of everything.
It is.
So how can our listeners show they're committed to ethical decision making?
It starts with being honest and transparent in your answers.
Okay.
Don't embellish your experience or try to hide any weaknesses.
Be yourself.
Exactly. Focus on showcasing your willingness to learn, your commitment to doing what's right.
And your understanding of ethical conduct in the investment world.
Exactly.
Maybe even share an example of a time you faced an ethical dilemma
Ooh, good one.
and how you dealt with it.
That's a great way to show your integrity.
Okay, so it's about showing that you have that strong moral compass.
Yes.
And that you're not going to compromise your values.
No matter what.
All right. I think we've covered just about everything our listener needs to know for that first part of the interview.
We've given them a lot to think about.
We have. But before we move on, I want to leave them with a final question.
Okay, shoot.
Think about a recent investment decision you made.
All right.
Maybe you bought a stock, invested in a mutual fund, or even just chose a savings account.
Yeah.
Now, put yourself in the shoes of an investment analyst. Imagine you're explaining that decision to a client.
Okay.
How would you present your analysis? What data would you highlight?
Good questions.
What risks would you acknowledge? And how would you connect that recommendation to your client's financial goals?
Ooh, that's a good exercise.
I think it is. It
Yeah.
forces you to think about it from a different perspective
It does.
and articulate your thought process.
Yeah,
So it's a good way to kind of step into that investment analyst mindset.
exactly. And the more you practice explaining your ideas,
Right.
the more confident you'll be when it's interview time.
Awesome. This has been so insightful.
It's been fun.
I've learned a lot. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Happy to help.
And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you the knowledge and the confidence.
And the inspiration.
Yes, to ace that interview
Yeah,
and start your journey as an investment analyst. Don't forget to check out RoleCatcher
they have so many resources.
and those AI-powered tools. We'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive, so stay tuned.
Can't wait.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into becoming an investment analyst.
We're ready for more questions.
I am. I'm excited for this next batch. They get really interesting.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so this one really caught my eye.
Yeah.
What is your investment philosophy?
Oh, that's a big one.
It is. I feel like this could really throw people off guard.
It can. It can.
What's the interviewer hoping to learn here?
Well, they want to see if you've actually thought about this.
Right, not just winging it.
Exactly. Do you have a coherent approach to investing? Or are you just following the latest trends?
So you need to have a framework.
You do. They want to understand your underlying beliefs about the market,
Okay.
your risk tolerance, your long-term outlook.
So it's about more than just, like, picking stocks.
It is. It is. It's about having a guiding principle.
All right, so how can our listener articulate their investment philosophy in a way that's, clear and compelling?
First, you got to identify your core values.
Okay.
What do you believe in? Do you favor value investing? Growth investing?
Maybe a mix of both.
Exactly. And then explain how those values shape your decision-making.
So you're connecting the dots.
You are. And be ready to give examples.
Oh, good idea.
Talk about specific investments you've made that reflect your philosophy.
Okay, so show them you're walking the walk.
Exactly.
All right, follow-up questions. What could they ask to probe a little deeper?
They could ask, how has your philosophy evolved over time?
Oh, interesting.
Because we're all learning and growing.
Right, no one starts out perfect.
They might also ask, how do you apply your philosophy in a specific market environment?
Oh,
Like,
no.
what if the market is super volatile?
So it's about showing adaptability.
Absolutely. All right, next question. Tell me about a time you had to research a new industry or sector.
Ooh, I like this one.
This one's fun.
It is. It feels very real world.
It is. It is. Because as an investment analyst, you're going to have to constantly be learning about new stuff.
You can't be an expert in everything.
Nope, not at all. But you have to be able to learn quickly.
So what's the interviewer really trying to assess here?
They want to see how you approach a new challenge.
Okay.
How do you gather information, analyze it?
And synthesize it.
Exactly. And how do you then form an investment thesis?
So how should our listener structure their answer?
Choose a situation where you really had to dive deep.
Okay.
Maybe a completely unfamiliar industry.
Make it challenging.
And then walk them through your process. What resources did you use? How did you identify key trends?
Did you talk to experts?
Exactly. And then explain how you took all that info and came to a conclusion.
Okay, so it's about showing that you're resourceful.
You're analytical.
And you're not afraid of a challenge.
Yeah, you're embracing it.
Awesome. What about follow-up questions? What might they throw your way?
They could ask, what were the biggest challenges you faced?
Okay.
Or what surprised you the most about that industry?
Interesting.
And they might also ask, knowing what you know now, would you have invested differently?
So they're really looking for that critical thinking.
Yes. They want to see how you learn from your experiences.
All right, next question. How do you evaluate management teams?
This is a crucial one.
It is.
Yeah.
Because a company's leadership can make or break it.
Absolutely. The best investment opportunity in the world is worthless if the management team is, incompetent.
Right, or unethical.
Exactly. So the interviewer wants to know that you understand that.
Okay.
That you can assess those qualitative factors.
So what are some key factors our listener should consider when evaluating a management team?
Look at their track record.
Okay.
Have they successfully navigated challenges?
Do they have a clear vision?
Exactly. Are they good communicators? Do they have a strong ethical compass?
So it's about looking beyond just the numbers.
It is. It is. It's about assessing their character.
Okay. What kind of follow-up questions could really test their ability to make those judgments?
They might ask, tell me about a time you met with a management team and came away unimpressed.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, they want to see if you can spot red flags.
That's smart.
And they might also ask, how much weight do you give to management when making investment decisions?
So it's about understanding the balance.
Exactly. It's all part of that holistic assessment.
All right, let's move on to a question that's all about staying ahead of the curve. What are some emerging trends in the investment industry?
Love this one.
This is where you can really show your passion.
Absolutely. It's a chance to demonstrate that you're a thought leader.
That you're on top of things.
Exactly. So you want to be prepared to discuss some of the hot topics.
Okay, like what?
Things like, the rise of ESG investing.
ESG, that's a big one.
It is. Or the growing importance of alternative data.
Ooh, interesting.
Maybe even the impact of artificial intelligence.
AI is everywhere.
It is, even in finance.
So it's about showing that you're paying attention to those trends.
And that you're thinking critically about how they'll shape the industry.
Okay. Follow-up questions. What might they ask to see if you're really in the know?
They could ask, how are you personally adapting to these trends?
Good one.
Or, which trend do you think will have the biggest impact in the next 5 years?
So it's about showing you're not just aware of the trends, you're thinking about their implications.
Exactly.
All right, next question. What are your salary expectations?
The money question.
It always comes up, right?
It does. And it can be a tricky one.
It can.
Yeah.
So how can our listener handle this question gracefully, without underselling themselves or seeming unreasonable?
Do your research. Know the average salary range for investment analysts in your location.
Good advice.
Use websites like Glassdoor or salary.com.
Okay.
And be prepared to give a range, not a specific number.
So be a little flexible.
Exactly. And you can always say, I'm open to negotiation based on the specifics of the role.
That's a good one.
And be sure to highlight your value.
Right. Remind them why you're worth it.
Yes. Talk about your skills, your experience, your accomplishments.
Okay. What about follow-up questions? What might they ask to get a better sense of your expectations?
They might ask, what other factors are important to you besides salary? Like benefits, work-life balance, opportunities for growth.
So it's not all about the money.
No, it's about finding the right fit.
All right, great advice. And our final question for this part of the deep dive. Do you have any questions for us?
The tables have turned.
They have. This is your chance to shine.
It is. It is. Never say no, I don't have any questions.
Why not?
It makes you look unprepared and uninterested.
Okay, so what are some good questions our listener could ask?
You could ask about the company culture
Okay,
or the team you'd be working with. You could ask about opportunities for professional development.
that's a good one.
Or, what are the biggest challenges facing the company right now?
So it's about showing that you're curious and engaged.
Exactly. It shows you've done your homework and you're genuinely interested.
All right, awesome. We've tackled another round of tough interview questions,
We have.
but don't worry, we've got one more part to go.
We're not done yet.
We're going to dive into even more questions and insights that will help you ace that investment analyst interview. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the final part of our investment analyst deep dive.
I can't believe we're already here.
I know, right? Time flies when you're talking finance.
It does. It does.
But we still got some ground to cover.
We do.
So let's jump right in. This next question is all about thinking outside the box. Tell me about an investment idea that you're excited about.
Ooh, I like this one.
Me too. This is where you can really let your passion shine through.
Absolutely. It's a chance to showcase your creativity.
And your knowledge of the market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just throw out any random idea.
Right. It's going to be well thought out.
It does. So choose an idea that you've actually researched.
Right.
Maybe you've even built a little model around it.
Ooh, impressive.
But the key is to be able to articulate your thesis.
Okay.
Explain why you think this investment has potential.
And back it up with data.
Yes, data is your friend.
Okay, what kind of follow-up questions could really test our listeners' conviction in their idea?
They could ask, what are the biggest risks to your thesis?
So it's about showing you've thought about the downsides too.
Absolutely. You don't want to come across as naive.
Right. Or they might ask, how would you size this position in a portfolio?
So they want to see if you can think about it in a practical way.
Makes sense. All right, this next question is a bit of a curveball. What are some of your weaknesses?
Everyone's least favorite question.
It's tough, but it's almost guaranteed to come up.
It is. It is. They want to see how self-aware you are.
Okay.
And how you handle tough questions.
So what's the best way to approach this one?
Be honest, but strategic.
Okay, what does that mean?
Don't choose a weakness that's critical to the job.
Right, like I'm terrible with numbers.
Yeah, that's not going to fly.
So what kind of weakness is acceptable?
Choose something that you're genuinely working on improving.
Okay.
And then explain the steps you're taking to get better.
So turn it into a positive.
Exactly. Show them that you're committed to growth.
I like it. Follow-up questions.
They might ask, can you give me a specific example of a time when this weakness held you back?
Ooh, that's tough.
It is, but be prepared to tell a story.
And show that you learned from it.
Exactly.
Hmm?
All right, our final question. Tell me about a time you failed.
Ooh, this one's even tougher.
It is, but it's a chance to show resilience.
And that you can learn from your mistakes.
Exactly. Everyone fails sometimes.
It's true.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to answer this one?
Choose a situation where you faced a setback,
Okay.
but then focus on what you learned from it.
Okay.
How did you grow? What would you do differently next time?
So it's about showing that you're not afraid of failure.
You embrace it as a learning opportunity.
That's a great mindset.
It is. It is. And it's what will set you apart.
All right. I think we've officially covered all the bases.
We've given them the tools to succeed.
We have. But before we say goodbye, I want to leave our listener with one final piece of advice.
Go for it.
The world of finance is incredibly competitive.
It is.
So you need to find ways to stand out.
Absolutely.
Be passionate, be curious, and always be willing to learn.
That's the key to success in this industry.
I agree. This has been an amazing deep dive.
It has been fun.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
My pleasure.
And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you the confidence and the knowledge to crush that investment analyst interview.
Go get 'em.
And remember, RoleCatcher is an amazing resource with tons of tools and information to help you on your journey. Good luck.